I think one thing in entrepreneurship that's misunderstood is the success curve of entrepreneurship. Whether you're going from the beginning where you have an idea to a product to really iterating on the value proposition, and then starting to scale up different depending on what kind of product you're building or what kind of service you have. It could take a lot of time to really get to that stage where you're scaling, you're growing like 10 times year over year. So I think in terms of that journey, it's really about understanding everything that needs to happen for you to get to every single milestone in the fundraising journey. And it could actually take a long time because the hockey stick growth is something where, overnight, you could have some multiples of growth and channels that are starting to work really well. So I think just having the patience is very important.
Yeah.
Having confidence in your strategy, not and pivoting is good if it's a strategic pivot, but having confidence in your strategy is not giving up, because most startups in the early stage fail because the founder gives up for either personal reasons or business reasons.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Ignite podcast. Today we're delighted to have Miguel Guerrero on the program. He's the founder and CEO of Otis AI. He's been on the Forbes 30 Under 30. He's been an entrepreneur since he was a teenager, working on one of the world's largest Minecraft servers. Such a cool background. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Would love to get an intro from you for the audience.
Yeah, so I'm Miguel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Otis AI. Otis is an automated ad solution for businesses, and we leverage AI and first-party data to facilitate targeting, attribution, and we replace and we outperform the performance marketing agency. Before I started Otis, I worked on 3 other businesses, including what Brian mentioned. The first one was the largest Minecraft server in the world. I started that when I was 14 years old. So I grew it to 5 million users, and it was an interesting experience. I learned how to scale infrastructure. It was a very profitable recurring revenue business because we sold a lot of digital assets and ranks in the game.
Yeah.
And I worked with a software team too to kind of build out the custom game modes and improve the experience.
So this is like a fork of Minecraft, right? Where it's kind of on Curse or whatever it's called, or Torch. And like
it's kind of like a whole community within Minecraft that people could join, and
like a sub game kind of. Like you join the server, and then there's like it's free to play, and then there's some upgrades you can buy in the server, and then you go there to kind of be in this virtual world with your friends and do all these like mini games and things like that. And you came up with that as a teenager,
Exactly.
which is really incredible. And what was involved, and were you already kind of technically minded? I mean, I guess you're technical if you're already using Minecraft mods, but like, what was that leap from going from like, hey, you know, what'd be really cool is a server, our own server, to like making that happen? Did you just kind of look it up online and just hack it together, or how'd that work?
Yeah, it started out very organically. I was playing the game and I wanted to play more with my family. And so I created a private server, but I wanted to open that up so that more people could experience it, built a couple of unique features within the game. And it became very popular. It was kind of like a virtual economy type of server where people could buy and sell real estate and form a town and recruit citizens. So at the time, that was something that people really wanted to participate in, and it started growing organically. To your point, it was really a very strong community. Some people that met through the game, they ended up getting married in real life and like forming lifelong relationships. So it's crazy what kind of impact it had. But yeah, it started to grow organically, and then we started different marketing campaigns with advertising on server lists and other avenues to boost its reach and get more players onto the game. We hired influencers and like YouTube celebrities to make videos playing different game modes within the server. And yeah, it became a very profitable recurring revenue business because we were able to sell those products online, and we reinvested that into developing it further so that we really had an offering that players would enjoy.
So what was the peak monthly recurring revenue, out of curiosity?
Yeah. The peak like net profit was about $30,000 a month.
Wow.
When it was at its peak.
Were your parents are like, and like, how old were you when this happened?
I was like 14 years old.
Wow. And they're like, what is going on? You have like you were probably at that point making as much or more money than your parents. They're like, what is going on here?
Oh yeah, yeah, it was crazy.
That's wild.
I ended up investing in a few things because I wanted to diversify and
Yeah.
at that time it was very popular to invest in data centers because of the rise of crypto mining and AI using GPUs and stuff. So I started to invest a bit in data centers, but I also made a few very bad investments. But I learned a lot from that whole
Yeah.
experience. I learned how to choose like who you work with and how to make the right investment decisions and then we had a team of like software engineers. That's also how I got into engineering where because I learned in order to ensure that everything was working right you can't reach out to your employee and ask them to like fix a corrupted database at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Mm,
So I started learning a lot myself and contributing to it and that's how I got my started building up my technical experience.
so cool. Yeah. And that's how I got into startup investing as well, as somebody who was like, yeah, you might want to get started because you'll make a lot of mistakes. And this is, I don't
Oh
know,
yeah.
7 years ago. And he was, boy, was he right. Shout out to my friend Neil, who I went to grad school with, if he's
Oh
listening.
nice.
But yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes. So I think that's wise. You should get started earlier and get started small and kind of learn. So what was the run of this Minecraft server? Like, what was kind of where did it go, and when did you kind of know it was time to shut it down, or what was the outcome?
Yeah, I always kept it around. It's for sentimental reasons. The community has been there for like 10 years or almost like 15 years now.
Wow,
So it's been around for a while, and it's not really like a profit center. It's more like
you're
it
kind of running it
invests in
at
itself.
cost to sort of kind of keep it going.
Yeah, yeah, and it has a volunteer staff team of people that are engaged with the game. They're always developing new things for the game and hosting events and things like that. So
Wow.
it's still around today. It's definitely
Kind
not
of
as
gave it
large
back
as
to
it
the
was
community in a
before.
way. You kind of like stopped working on trying to make a profit from it and just said, hey, it's almost like an open source now run by the community.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And then tell us about your next startup. So something about payments.
So I had that software development team from Minecraft and but before I even started Taboo, I created an agency that worked on mobile apps and websites for different businesses. So with the same team, we started developing these applications. Many SMB clients, so many small and medium businesses, we created mobile apps, websites for them and we also helped them launch the product. So it was a great exercise in learning about different industry verticals and how to build and iterate on an early stage product to get to that product market fit. So we developed those platforms and eventually and like I've been working with small businesses for a long time. My family has run and operated small businesses like San Francisco Minibus and a
Oh,
top
yeah.
oral surgery practice
Is that a
in the
franchise, the
Philippines.
minibus?
I don't no, it's not a franchise.
Oh,
It's a single
wow.
location, but it's been around for a while. It's like
Yeah.
over like 40 years, right? So, uh, but yeah, I would always remember, like growing up with that company
Yeah.
and
You kind of
and so
grew
yeah,
up around these small business owners, your family, entrepreneurs, and so it was already kind of in almost in your blood, so to speak. Like it was just in the culture of how you grew up. And then so
yeah, exactly.
you have this agency and you're serving these small businesses and you have this aha moment, like something about how they're doing the marketing. You're like, ah, I could do this better. Tell us about that.
Well, at that point, I started, I co-founded Taboo, which was the mobile payments app.
Right.
That was my first SMB enablement product. And we integrated with about 60% of the point of sale market share to facilitate contactless payments at different restaurants and venues here in New York City. So people could go into the place and order stuff. They would have a tab open already and they could leave and it would pay for everything. So the segue into Otis is like one of the key insights into starting the Taboo business was that when we integrated with all these POS systems, there were a lot of legacy POS systems, but increasingly more and more cloud-based POS systems and platforms that businesses are using that collect more and more data about their customers. like first party data. So that unique insight is part of what led to Otis, because there's a unique opportunity that can where businesses have more access to more data than ever before, and they can use that to facilitate very high performing targeting and attribution. And we can take a lot of the powerful enterprise level strategies in marketing and make them more simple and accessible
Mm,
for the businesses because they have this kind of infrastructure. So that's one of the insights
yeah.
into how we started Otis.
Yeah. It's a common playbook too. Some people probably don't know this, but I ran demand gen at Vertical Response a long time ago before I also switched to product to build SMB, a marketing automation platform. And Vertical Response was an email marketing platform that competed with MailChimp. And the big
Mhm.
insight 20 years ago when the founder started the company was there's these enterprise email marketing tools. We should bring that to SMBs. So it's a very common push pull between kind of the enterprise MarTech and kind of the SMB MarTech. So it's interesting you kind of came up with that same insight. What were some of the things that you saw at Taboo that kind of informed Otis?
Yeah. I think it was really about working on a product specifically designed for small businesses. Because when you think about an enterprise grade product, they could be more like command centers or have a lot of complexity. But with SMB product, it really has to be simple, very streamlined, kind of like Square, how Square built their product, right? And you saw that with the companies that you worked on. There's a lot of opportunities to consolidate a lot of point solutions and create more simplified solutions that are more suitable for small and medium businesses. They might not have the sophistication or the like a huge team to operate your platform. So it really needs to be super streamlined, easy, and simple and effective.
Totally makes sense. So tell us about kind of the incubation and kind of the starting of Otis. How did you make the transition from Taboo to Otis?
Yeah. So through Taboo, I had more connections in the payment space. So when we started the company with Otis, we had a lot of initial investors who were C-level executives at First Data, which is the largest payments company in the U.S. And we started working on this problem. And Tom, our COO, he joined early on in the company, and he was also an investor. He was previously CIO at Verizon, and he built new SMB and AI use cases there. So he joined us as our COO, and we identified this acute pain point that these businesses have, because so many businesses, whether they're brick and mortar or already have an online presence, there was really like a digital transformation that was catalyzed and accelerated by COVID, of all these businesses going omni-channel, needing to reach their customers online. And more recently, there's increased trust and adoption of AI in terms of their marketing and operations, and the explosion of first-party data, where all businesses have so much more data than they ever had before. So that's a unique opportunity that they can exploit to grow. But a lot of these businesses, they're going to performance marketing agencies to run their advertising on paid social and search channels like Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. They do it because they may not have the right expertise to run robust advertising campaigns, or they may not have the time to optimize them on a regular basis and make sure that they're successful. So they turn to these agencies, but a big pain point that we identified is that they're very expensive in terms of their minimums and
Right.
commissions, especially for people with smaller budgets, because
Yeah.
if
And they're
you have
making
a,
a lot of money on the ad spend too, right? So they're marking it up. I worked at Rocket
yeah,
Fuel back in the day. And, before we went public, we were running, 70% margins in the ad industry, which was like unheard of, 10 years
well,
ago.
yeah, that's crazy.
And basically because we could buy low, sell high because we could use AI to predict who is likely to buy a pizza if we showed them an ad. And we could do that much better than anybody else because we had like these rock star, AI guys from Yahoo and like George John, the co-founder. But
Right.
when we went public, the agencies hated that. They saw our margins and they looked at it as like almost like stealing from them because
Oh, yeah.
agencies, as you know, control the customer here. So yeah, I'm not very familiar with the SMB agencies, but I would imagine they have these minimums. They're making margin on the ad spend. It ends up being really expensive, and a lot of SMBs don't want to spend more than hundreds of dollars per month, maybe up to 1,000. And a lot of these, to make the economics work, I would imagine have very much higher minimums per month. I can't
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a really good example that you brought up with your experience at Rocket Fuel, because they're also looking for transparency too. And when you give the transparency, and they see that you're taking like 70% margins on your fees, that's not great. There's obviously a lot
yeah,
of room for opportunity there. And a customer might be fine with paying that if you're actually driving the efficacy and the increase of the ROI. But the difference is that for a lot of these performance marketing agencies that work with SMBs, they're not really delivering on that value because they're smaller, they don't have the right sophistication or team. And I'm not talking about all agencies, but for the most part, that's what we see in terms of the
mhm,
pain points. And so if you're spending, 5,000 or 1,000 a month on advertising, it doesn't make sense to pay your performance marketing agency or manager 3,000 or 5,000 a month in fees, because that's like 90% of your
yeah,
budgets. Where we focus with Otis is having competitive pricing at all spend levels, not just the long tail where we can create those efficiencies, but even as they scale, uh, agencies that serve larger customers can charge anywhere between 18 to 50% of the fees on ad spend because of the manual processes and some ancillary things that they sell to them, that can also be quite expensive. So that's where we really focus on being the less expensive option with the pricing arbitrage, but also we outperform these legacy solutions because we are able to increase their ROI by 2 to 3 times in the first 6 months. And that's where it really becomes kind of like a no-brainer in terms of a buying decision for a business, that they can not only reduce their costs significantly, but improve their results and reclaim time. Yeah, and it's all at a fraction of the cost of an agency.
right. And kind of the timing for this business, of course, is, and this is a constant push pull growth and rebirth cycle in Martech, is a new technology comes along like large language models, and now you get to reinvent the
Right.
whole marketing stack, right? So maybe walk us through a little bit of that friction removed, how you're using AI to generate these campaigns, and kind of what that magic sauce is.
Yeah, I think this is like a new paradigm in advertising tech, looking at the SMB segment that has historically been underserved by ad tech, because we mostly have DSPs like Trade Desk or point solutions that are really not for large marketing teams. So I think the opportunity for small businesses is, as we talked about, making those enterprise level strategies more simple and accessible, uh, the application of automation and AI and other ways we can reduce friction for them. In terms of the technology that we're able to deliver for businesses, we have the whole facilitation piece, and then we also have the performance optimization piece. So we have a performance optimization engine that does all of the dynamic budget and bid adjustments across channels and audience segments and creatives and all the aspects of the campaign, focused on improving their return on investment and improving their conversion volume. And that's really important, especially with an increasingly fragmented landscape of channels they can advertise on, whether it's TikTok or YouTube or Amazon ads or Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
Otis creates that efficiency between them, and and yeah, it improves the results compared to the inconsistency of manual optimization. But beyond that, Otis facilitates everything that they need to be successful, like the multi-channel deployment of the campaigns, the targeting, the attribution, because we connect directly within their data sources. And then the creative optimization is the other piece, where instead of being more like a generative AI first solution that leverages mostly LLMs, we give them suggestions and rephrases, but we also have our own predictive score that predicts how well each piece of content is going to perform when shown to their audience, so that it can give them a more data-driven perspective on what's going to perform better before they start investing in the campaigns. And then once they launch, they do have that optimization that's going to improve their results over time. And so as we get more customers on Otis, as people launch more campaigns, it really becomes more of a performance flywheel because we collect more data that can be used to train the models and the optimization that will improve customer results.
Right. Yeah, and that's the magic of AI powered ads and ad platforms like what you guys are doing is you build up a moat, a competitive moat with the data and know-how, right, across all these campaigns. So you kind of know, like, oh, you sell pet supplies, right? We have data on what works there and what doesn't work, and then you can actually use models and algorithms to predict that. And then I would imagine a lot of these SMBs, they look at advertising like, oh, I tried that, didn't work, right?
Right.
Like I spent $500 one time on Google and it didn't work. So like, how do you overcome that objection, and what kind of results have some of these businesses seen over time?
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about it, because a lot of the marketing spend becomes discretionary if a business can't see a return on the investment. So they try an agency or they run campaigns on Google and they don't see a return, and then they can't really maintain that spend. So that's one of the reasons we think that this whole market can be revolutionized, because, for example, the SBA, which has endorsed Otis as a recommended solution, recommends that businesses should spend around 10% of their gross revenue on digital marketing. And obviously that could vary, but the actual is that they're only spending about 2% or a little less on digital marketing, because a lot of them are not able to run it in a way that's going to uh, generate enough returns and really justify the value in
Yeah,
investing more. And so I'm not saying that every business is going to find success in using these paid search and social channels as a growth channel for their business, but there's a big segment of businesses that where it's an untapped opportunity where they could actually generate a ton of results from that. But for us, in terms of customer reception to Otis as a solution, when we started the business, we thought we would have to educate customers more about the value of digital marketing, the importance of using AI and data, and all these other things. But it so happens that over the course of the last couple of years, the market has largely educated itself. They believe in the need to use digital marketing. They believe in the need to leverage AI, and they're collecting more data than ever before. So I think that these are really like these ingredients and of a perfect storm for Otis to really capture more market share and be a trusted solution for businesses to use.
yeah. And a lot of people don't realize how big the SMB market is, right? Enterprise is
Yeah,
obviously big, but I mean, I think it's something like 43% of our GDP. Don't quote me on that, but I remember seeing that somewhere in some article. It's a huge portion of our economy. And so if you think about, like half of our GDP and then 10% of that, or 5 or 10%, this is a huge, huge market. I mean, I don't know what the TAM is now for ads, but last is 5 or 600 billion, right, worldwide. So it's just like this
yeah, it's
enormous
huge.
market, right? And if you can remove a lot of friction like this and just make it kind of turnkey using AI to help these businesses 2 or 3x their return on ad spend, ROAS, if you will, it's such a no brainer. And now they can just kind of move about their day and kind of like not worry about this anymore, right? It's just working. How do you
Yeah,
encounter
exactly.
or think about the future of Otis as you kind of look out 5 or 10 years? What do you see for Otis and kind of digital marketing more broadly?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a huge potential addressable market, not just in the U.S. but globally, right? There's a big shift towards in marketing. There's a lot of consolidation happening in SMS marketing or email marketing. People are looking for the compound solution that's going to really consolidate a lot of their point solutions and enable them to do things that would have previously required a larger team. In the area of performance marketing and paid search and social advertising, this is an area that's kind of ripe for disruption. Performance marketing is so complex with all of the ad tech that has been developed over the past few decades. There's a ton of opportunity to integrate all of that into a very simple compound solution. It so happens that it serves the small business segment the best because they really need simplicity, they need a holistic solution, and we're bringing capabilities with AI and automation that they wouldn't have had access to before. So I think for Otis, our goal is to continued to develop the platform as that consolidated compound solution. And that's a multi-year journey because there's so much that can be done to build that kind of solution. And marketing is so deep and so complex than a lot of people think it is. Just the fact of creating a compound solution for performance marketing is something that requires, like a ton of investment and a very robust solution. And I think that's why a lot of platforms come to Otis, because they need to enable their end customers with an enablement layer that's going to help them be successful with advertising. So a lot of vertical SaaS platforms have their own internal agencies and marketing services where they're trying to help their end customers. So we try to partner with them because Otis is a robust product that can help. And yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate how much investment and how complex it's going to be to really build a solution that's actually going to work, because you can't just deploy campaigns across multiple channels and call it a day. But maybe you can with organic, social, or other things. With paid advertising, there's a lot of things that
Right.
need to be done to actually turn it into what we talked about. Not a discretionary expense, but something where you can really effectively measure the ROI and scale as a growth channel for the business.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I noticed about your background is you've been a very prolific, not just entrepreneur, but fundraiser. So for the founders out there that are looking to raise a round, and you've done a few now, like what kind of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, this is a great question. I think there's a lot of challenges with fundraising. One of the things that we look at is how to really emphasize the opportunity with a company like Otis. Historically, like ad tech has been overlooked because of the last generation of ad tech companies, but I think more and more investors are looking at the SMB space. They're looking at how big the potential addressable market is, and also how this combination of data and AI and SMB enablement can be a game changer for small and medium businesses. So there's a lot of value that can be created there. So I think what's has made a lot of sense in terms of our fundraising is partnering with investors that are already aligned with that particular vision. And all of the domain experts that we've talked with and investors like yourself that has expertise in ad tech have been very excited about our approach, and those have honestly been the most supportive and strategic investors for us, because they've been working in ad tech or marketing for decades. They really understand the problem and the opportunity. So instead of knocking down on every single door and trying to convince people of your vision or a certain market sizing or opportunity that you're pitching, I think there's finding the right investors that are really aligned with your vision and the opportunity is really important and can generate better results with the fundraising.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we want to find people that are easy to convince rather than educate them on the history of ad tech.
Right.
Let's switch to rapid fire. What's your favorite productivity tool?
I guess my favorite productivity tool, right now for email, I use Superhuman. It's
My last
very
guest used that
efficient.
too, and we were having a discussion on this. Like, I think they suck you in with the keystrokes, and then you can't get out of
Oh
it,
yeah.
right?
Not everybody likes it because it's like a change in behavior.
Yeah,
So
that was my conclusion as well. I've tried it a couple times over the years. I can't change my Gmail behavior. I know how to operate. I know all the keystrokes for Gmail, and I just can't switch. But yeah, what I need a superhuman chat GPT
right.
assistant that reads my email and responds to it automatically,
What
knowing all
what's
the
cool
time.
about Superhuman now is they're implementing more AI features. So especially if you're in sales or where you have to send a lot of emails, it's
Yeah,
really useful for like analyzing it and responding. But I think like it's important to maintain like authenticity, especially in the email communications. I
yeah.
like Superhuman though. It found a way that it works for me well, but
Hmm.
I can understand why not everybody would want to use it.
What's the most exciting trend in digital marketing right now?
I think the most exciting trend is probably what we're doing with us. I mean, I think enabling, or not just with Otis, so actually like the SMB enablement opportunity. So if you look at other areas like SMS marketing, email marketing, there's so much compounding there with different solutions that are making it easier than ever. Otis is part of that revolution of making it easier to run paid search and social for businesses that have smaller marketing budgets. So I think that's a very interesting um, shift. And maybe in the future there's going to be even more aggregation and consolidation of these kinds of solutions. But right now, I think it's just a huge opportunity, and a lot of companies are taking advantage of it.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to your 14-year-old self, what would it be?
Probably make more. This is hard to say because I don't like giving general advice. But one of the things I could have done better, like especially when I started my first business, was making more data-driven decisions. I kind of treated it more like as a game or something that could grow organically, and actually that's why it was very successful, because it was able to grow very quickly. But in terms of scaling it, we weren't really able to identify the main levers that would be needed to take it to the next level.
Yeah. I love that.
So
I want
yeah.
to tug on this thread because you said something that I really like, which is like how the game informed how I ran the business. Like, how have video games generally informed how you're an entrepreneur?
That's a great point. I always gravitated towards strategy games or like simulation type games.
Yeah, like
So
like Civilization, SimCity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's the micro and the macro aspects of the game strategy. So the micro is like how you strategically position different pieces of the strategy, whether it's units or different things, in a fast and effective way. And then the macro is like on the high level, like what's the main goal. And I guess a lot of people don't focus enough on the macro, because it's like this book that I really like, called Hannibal and Me. It's about how Hannibal was the greatest military conqueror in the world, and
Say
he
ancient Carthage, not Hannibal Lecter.
yeah exactly. And he basically won every battle, but he lost in his ultimate conquest of Rome. So I think yeah, what I would gain from the gaming is, all of those micro and macro strategies really help with being an entrepreneur and starting a business, because now you can actually do that with a real life thing and invest your time and energy there, and it's great.
That's
So
so
I
cool.
actually really enjoy running a business, because it's kind of similar to those games that I obviously there's a ton of differences, but
Yeah, that's
I
so
enjoy
cool.
the process.
I'm gonna check that book out. We're watching Rome right now on HBO Max, because we're gonna go to Italy next summer.
Oh,
We do like one
amazing.
big family trip a year, and we did Greece this past summer. So we're kind of following antiquity, right? Or kind of the rise and fall of civilization. So next is Italy and Rome. So should be a lot of fun. Who's your biggest inspiration?
That's great.
Yeah, so I love that book recommendation. Thank you for that.
Thank
Who's
you.
your biggest inspiration in the tech world?
Okay. That's also a hard one, because I don't want to idolize a person, because everybody has different attributes, both positive and negative. I would say, right now, the people that are taking the biggest swings to do something that's really hard in terms of solving a problem, like Elon Musk with SpaceX and Tesla, that was like a very difficult problem that he solved, needing to raise a lot of capital, it's kind of like you're creating a new paradigm, because a big part of it is building the public sentiment that something that you want to happen in the world should happen. Like, people want to go to space, so they're going to invest billions of dollars into going to space, and then there's a bunch of unknown use cases and opportunities to exploit there commercially that are coming to fruition. So I think, entrepreneurs that are working on something really, really challenging, those are kind of like inspirations for me.
Let me ask you another way of phrasing that. So you imagine you had to go work for an entrepreneur today. Who would you go work for?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because like you've been an entrepreneur since like, since you're like in middle school practically, right? So like you're kind of like, I don't know,
Right.
like just go start another company, right? I
But
love
you
that.
know what?
Yeah.
I work for multiple entrepreneurs because we have investors, right? So
Yeah.
there's so many entrepreneurs that I get advice from,
Yeah.
get feedback from. And I think that's what's really helped me in my journey is getting this insight from these investors and entrepreneurs that have so much domain expertise and advice for navigating like these challenges.
Right. What's one thing about entrepreneurship that you think is often misunderstood?
I think one thing in entrepreneurship that's misunderstood is the success curve of entrepreneurship. Whether you're going from the beginning where you have an idea to a product to really iterating on the value proposition, and then starting to scale up different go-to-market channels once you have product market fit. Depending on what kind of product you're building or what kind of service you have, it could take a lot of time to really get to that stage where you're scaling, you're growing like 10 times year over year. And we're still on our way in that journey. We're growing quickly and we're getting to that growth stage, right? But I think something that I underestimated was how robust of a product we needed to build or how quickly we would get to this point. So I think in terms of that journey, it's really about understanding everything that needs to happen for you to get to every single milestone in the fundraising journey. And it could actually take a long time because the hockey stick growth is something where, overnight, you could have some multiples of growth and channels that are starting to work really well. So I think just having the patience is very important. Having confidence in your strategy, not and pivoting is good if it's a strategic pivot, but having confidence is in your strategy is not giving up because most startups in the early stage fail because the founder gives up for either personal reasons or business reasons. There's so many excuses you
That's
can
been my
make
experience
to
with my shutdowns. They just kind of go, you know what, this is hard, and I don't think it's going to work, and I
yeah,
give
yeah,
up.
exactly.
Like it's not like it's usually that because like the
Mhm.
founders that really persevere and just figure it out, and sometimes you have to pivot 4 or 5 times, right? You're like, oh, I think it's
Right,
this,
right.
and then you're like, nope, 6 months later, it's not that. Pivot, and it's really the founder. The other thing I've seen is when you have co-founders and one leaves, and then the
Yeah.
remaining founder is just like, oh man, this is hard to
Yeah,
do
that
by
can be
myself.
very
Yeah,
demoralizing and
yeah,
difficult.
yeah. But
Yeah,
I've seen
I
some
think
pretty
to
amazing
sum it
founders
up,
kind of
it's
power
really
through that too, right? But it's very rare.
yeah, I think it like to me it's really about knowing how low it can get. If you haven't been an entrepreneur before and you're experiencing things for the first time, you might think that something that happened is really the death of your
Yeah,
company, but might not be really because
yeah,
it can get pretty low.
yeah. I think what I've realized too now that I've been running my own venture firm for a while, and I had a small business in my 20s, and I had a couple failed kind of tech startups. Is like finding your why is really important, and really paying attention to your energy, and
Oh,
like
right.
what gives you energy and what sucks your energy, and then trying to get the things that don't give you energy off your plate as much as possible, and paying somebody to do it, or hiring an agency, or using an AI powered marketing platform like Otis to do the ads that you don't have time to do or don't like to do, or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Just finding the things that give you, like doing this podcast gives me energy, like meeting founders, pitching Team Ignite to potential LPs gives me energy. But there's other things
Mhm.
in the mundane running of a venture fund. I'm like, I don't want to do this. Okay, how can I get this off my plate? Right. So what's next for
Right,
Otis?
exactly. What's next for Otis is that right now we're in a good spot. We've been growing very quickly, 2.8 times year over year. Um, we
Don't say that on a podcast. Now your competitors know they come after you. No, I'm joking.
right.
Yeah, you guys got strong growth, but like kind of like what are you excited to build over? We talked about the 10-year vision, but like what's like immediate in the next year are
Oh
you
yeah,
excited to
yeah,
to work on?
yeah. So right now we have a good portfolio of customers, great case studies, and we're always thinking about ways we can improve the product. So we're investing more in the performance optimization models so we can drive better outcomes for our customers as we collect more and more data with the platform. We're integrating with more ad channels, more first party data integrations, We just launched a product update that's made it 70% easier to onboard. It's increased our conversions on the product-led side by about 70%.
Mm.
So
That's how I became a product manager, actually. I was running demand gen and realized no amount of landing page multivariate testing is going to increase conversions until I get inside the app and actually do some PLG stuff in the
right,
onboarding flow.
exactly.
And it's really the unlock of that, reducing friction to the aha moment, that can really increase your PLG conversions.
Yeah, and it can be nervous. It can be scary to change something that's working,
Yeah.
right? But
You just
yeah, I
run an
think
A/B test and just see which flow ends up with more paid conversions, right? I mean, that's kind of
right. Yeah,
Well,
so we were really able to make those improvements there. And we're also focusing a lot on the growth. So we're expanding our go-to-market channels that are really working well. We have a bunch of new, very exciting partnership opportunities that are coming in that we're working on right now that can really catapult the business forward.
Yeah, be careful on the partnership stuff. I've seen a lot of companies fail with that because you end up, what you end up doing is you end up trying to shoehorn your whole platform into some partnership, and it ends up
Right.
not like generating as much revenue as you think, and you end up spending like half your resources on it for a year because it's going to drive so much revenue, and you end up like not like working on what your customers actually need. So that
Right,
that'd be my general advice to you and
That's
other
why we
founders
only
listening.
focus on things where the roadmap is additive to our core roadmap mission of working with these direct SMBs and making it frictionless for them.
Yeah.
So that's what we're focusing on. And
well, this was amazing. How can the small business owners and other people interested in getting in touch with you and Otis get in touch?
Yeah. Feel free to reach out if you are interested in launching a campaign on Otis. It can take you minutes, and it will set you up with a fully data-driven multi-channel campaign. You can sign up on meetotis.com and register and set up. And yeah, happy to connect with anyone. I love to talk about marketing, startup strategies, and excited to help anyone that wants to supercharge their paid advertising in a much more effective and cost-effective way for their business.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Miguel. This is great.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.